Okay, so today we're going to make clam chowder. Now, my big problem with going to places and you see on the menu our famous clam chowder is that it's either clam flavored potato soup or it's some sort of clam wallpaper paste or some combination of both. So the goal here and what I'm going to show you, and this is my great grandmother's recipe. It's not that particularly different than any recipe you can find online. You know, there's different things. You know, some people put carrots in them. So I'll run you through the ingredients here. This is the full list of ingredients that we're going to be using to do this, and I'll get to work and I'll come back with you. So in terms of the staples, you have to have clam juice. So I'm using 4 bottles of Bar Harbor clam juice. You have to have clams, Bumblebee chopped clams, right? Now what's important about those is you make everything, the clams go in at the end. They're already cooked, and if you cook them more, they will get rubbery. So that's how you have soft clams. Bacon, I use 1 slice per can of clams, and I just render it down. I don't make it into bacon bits because you want it really ultimately to have kind of the same consistency as the clams. So it's like 2 bites in one. Potatoes, not too much, about a cup. And you don't do them big. You do them more like small diced or cubed, whatever you want to call it. About a cup of those, a little bit less or more. Same with celery. Same with onions. 4 cups of milk, and I'm using 1% fat milk. And the other thing is I'm not doing a roux. I will be thickening it as needed with a slurry of potato starch. We already have potatoes in it. Why not use a slurry of potato starch to thicken, right? You don't need the butter in it. You don't need all the bacon fat in it, so that's why this has been drained. Of course, salt and pepper, and parsley, and a bit of bay leaf. And that's going to do it. What I'm going to do, however, is make the onions translucent with a tiny bit of the bacon fat in the pot before I pour everything in, and I'll see you later when I'm, this is going to be this short dish to cook, actually. And, okay, short dish, so I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Just pretty quick here. This is a very quick dish to make, so I did use maybe a tablespoon of the rendered bacon fat to initially cook the onions, because they take a long time if you're just boiling them, and so you want to get them translucent so you put them in on high, you turn down the heat, do a couple big pinches of salt. When they're about 2/3 of the way through to being translucent, you dump in the celery, so you get a little bit of high heat on them before. Now this is all clam juice. It's all cooking in clam juice, so it is now, and the potatoes you don't have to do anything with. So it is the onion, the celery, the potatoes, and the bacon. Ultimately at a boil on the clam juice. So I'm going to reduce that to basically concentrate the clam flavor. And in the meantime, the reason I wanted to do this is because, sorry, we are going to, so other than a few pinches of salt, I haven't put any seasoning in yet. And so I'm going to start doing some seasoning. There's not much in clam chowder. About that much parsley would be good. I like parsley. I kind of wing it. It's not strong. Bay leaf, on the other hand, which this is not in my great grandmother's recipe, but most clam chowders have bay leaf in them, and it's pretty intense. This is dried, so you're probably talking about a whole leaf right there. Boom. So, and that's it. I will further season afterwards. Otherwise, I have the 4 cans of clam drained. It's in clam juice, but I already have clam juice in the thing. And so, you know, the canned clam juice, maybe not so much. The other thing is that I have here a prepared slurry of cold water and 2 rounded tablespoons of potato starch. Rather in the traditional way of doing a roux, where you use butter and flour to start off with, and that will ultimately be your thickening. And if you get it wrong, it's going to be paste and whatnot. I will be able, at the end, after I put the milk in, see, I will be putting the milk in, and I will be boiling it down, or simmering it down, I should say, a bit, until I figure it's done. And then I will use the slurry to thicken it. This potato starch, same thing as when you use cornstarch, a cold water slurry, and you dump it in at a boil. Those little granules pop and they make your sauce thicker, but we don't want too thick. We want a chowder, not a paste, and so on. So we'll work it, and I will be back towards the end. A very quick update here. So now what I've done is reduced the clam juice by about half, and then tasted it, and it's very wonderfully herbaceous. Is that a word? Herbaceous? So it tastes like the herbs. It has the herbs, and it has a good amount of saltiness. I've not yet introduced any pepper. And so I put the milk in. But what I do on that is the burner is on low, and I've covered it. I don't want to sit and stir it, and I don't want to scorch the milk, right? The clams go in at the last because they're already cooked. They don't need cooking. In fact, you put them in at the very last, right? After, and I'll come back and we'll thicken the chowder so it's at the right consistency. And that will just be great. And then I'll do a little, final seasoning to taste at the end with just salt and pepper. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so we're back with the final process here. I'm turning it to high to bring it to a pretty rapid boil. As you can see, it's thin and milky, right? But I don't want to, I don't really want to reduce it anymore. I have tasted it. It tastes like clam chowder, only there's no clams in it, right? So I'm going to stir up my potato starch slurry here so I can show you how that process works. I've done 2 heaping teaspoons in cold water, and we're gonna pour about half of that in there. What happens is these little things have little, so you can see it's thickening up already just a little bit. Still a little too soupy. We don't want a paste. We don't want clam flavored potato soup, which is what it is now, potato and vegetable soup, which it is now. So I can see I'm gonna have to use the whole thing here, so I'm just gonna go for it. And that should about do it. Yeah. So now we're getting more of a chowder consistency, which is a thick soup in my view. I do not like the pasty stuff at all. That's why I do not use a roux. You never know what you're going to get from that because you're starting off with your thickening rather than doing it at the end, right? So, yes, this is good right there. It could maybe be a little bit thicker, but I don't care. I just don't want it like paste. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let that, make sure that the starch granules all thicken properly. Yeah, that's nice. See that? That's nice. That's what you call chowder, right? Stirring it around. Let it go for just a minute more. A little bit more. Turn it down. Okay, that's lovely. I think that's a lovely consistency, don't you? That's a lovely consistency. Let's get a, so you can see. Oops, sorry. So see, that is chowder. Okay, so now it's all cooked. Everything's done. I haven't added black pepper yet. What I'm gonna do is turn the heat off. No more heat, because do not want to cook the clams. The clams are cooked. You put the clams in for flavor and for texture and all that. Not to cook them. They're already cooked. You want the texture. You do not want rubber. All right. There goes in the clams. Stir them in. At the very last bit. So now we have clam chowder. And so now I'm going to do some salt and pepper seasoning. You don't need to see that. You do it yourself. You have to do it yourself anyway. All right, I'll give you a picture of the final product.